Hello, I am Minerva Neiditz, and I have written 6 published books, 4 of which are poetry. And I'm going to be reading to you from my book called Fluid Poetics. It's based on the artwork of Ronald Mallory, who is a famous Mercury painter. He is in the Whitney, he's in the Albright Knox, he's in the MoMA, Los Angeles Museum. He was very famous in the 60s and 70s. He is one of 8 kinetic painters or kinetic artists who in a very important art book. I met him in San Miguel de Allende, and I bought one of his paintings and I fell in love with his work. And he supplied me with 24 images of his art that was kinetic, as well as some collages and photographs. And I wrote 24 poems to go with that art. The first poem that I'm going to read to you is called Cleopatra. The image is a collage, I believe, of 2 people dancing with Cupid over them. Cleopatra. My lover's an artist, entering my soul, slipping like Mercury, following his goal. I cannot control him. He moves like an asp, straight through my heart, which he makes his repast, and I gasp at the liquid which changes each hour. We die every night like a pure lily flower, then open anew as the sun starts to climb, until we can reach to touch the divine. I wrote another Cleopatra poem, which is in a different book, and there was a slam, and I used a prop, sort of black snaky thing, which pretended to be the asp. And I won the slam, and then they sent me to the state slam, and I was disqualified for using a prop, but they didn't tell me that I couldn't. The next poem is called Andrea Doria and the Towers. And this is a picture of the Andrea Doria that Ron was commissioned, Ron Mallory, to do a painting of the Andrea Doria, and it hung in the Twin Towers, in one of the Twin Towers, and I went on my honeymoon on the Andrea Doria. So we had that in common, and I wrote this poem about it. In 1955, I sailed on that boat. I sailed at the end of its life. I was a wife, and he danced to the tune I played on my little fife. I see Ron's painting hanging in the highest tower, the fated Andrea Doria, more famous than the Astoria, the Waldorf where we stayed on our honeymoon days. It sank, it sank, it sank. And now the tower's gone. We stand in disbelief. We liquefy in grief. How everything has changed. Empty is that space, and the great ship has sunk. Beauty and power exist for an hour or two. Poets have said it forever. Why can't my mind accept what my body knows is true. Those are two serious poems, and now there's a light one called Who Should Reign in Rome? Ron belongs to the American Academy in Rome, and he took a photograph of a dog dressed in a toga. Who should reign in Rome? If dogs could reign in Rome, their history might be better. They'd understand the law and obey it to the letter. They'd govern with restraint and not go off to war. They'd eat their rations straight and never ask for more. All the gold in Egypt couldn't tempt them there to live with Cleopatra in her fascinating lair. They'd stay faithful to Octavia, stay home and munch a bone. The world would be at peace if a dog were on the throne. Now, this image gave me a very hard time. You see it, it's blue, dark blue, and white abstract shapes. Blue moon, white moon. We meet again in space as strangers. You do not recognize my face, pockmarked and solid like a rock. Meteors have fallen and left their impressions, but I am still white and I emanate light. You are dark and sad, keeping your distance, visible but empty, almost a shadow floating, respectfully aloof, twisting, turning. I cannot see the black holes within you, refusing to be filled. Dark and light, separate at last. No one would guess we once were lovers. The last two are going to be images. This one, which is very beautiful, is on a pedestal, and it moves, and all those shapes keep changing and changing, and it's called Dancing. The globe, filled with mercury, creates organic shapes like lakes, like stars in the sky, or fireflies, bodies lying at the bottom of the sea, like me bending toward thee, my beloved, like a free spirit, introspectively moving on an axis no one can see, no exit, no key, just a gleeful dance. You, me. And the last poem is called The Great Question. This is the painting that I bought from Ronald, which moves beautifully and makes organic shapes. The Great Question. Everything is falling and moving round and round, falling because of the gravity that pulls us down and down. The bronze light of Mercury lies upon the breast of a grande dame, puffing up her chest and testing her meager French. Le plus ça change. Within this structured space, the repetitious mind of the Creator assures us that day will follow night, that the seasons will complete their voyage, that the birds will continue their flights, but also that we will fall down, down, down into a perpetual night, which many say is temporary, since day comes after darkness. Is this a cliché, or are we to be recycled? If you're interested in buying the book, Fluid Poetics, you can write to me on email, and my email is mneiditz@msn.com. Neiditz is spelled Neiditz. It is $16. You could throw in a couple of dollars for postage, and I'd be most happy to sign it and send it to you. Thank you so much for listening.